right, here we are.
This is Let's Talk, getting to the root causes of the important issues of the day. This on-the-air community forum believes your voice matters and welcomes all thoughts and views without judgment. Please join today's conversation by calling 415-663-8492. And if you're out of the country, make sure you put a 1 before that.
If you're out of the country.
Have you been out of the country for a while, Stephen?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So here we are. It's Let's Talk. It's Thursday, and I'm Paul Raffel. That was Stephen Hurwitz's dulcet tones. He's returned after a month abroad. Shelley Rugg is at the board, and we have special guest in the studio, M.K. Chandler.
Good morning. Nice job, Paul.
Good morning. And yes, this is Let's Talk, and this is a listener call-in show, so it's all up to you, listeners, to interrupt us as we blather on about whatever topic we're going to be talking about today. We need to hear from the collective wisdom of the community about the topics we cover. It's all about you. So Shelley's on the board, so...
Oh, that's right.
When
that's
you
me. Call
in 415-663-8492 or 8317, 415-663-8492 to call in. You'll hear a little electronic buzzy noise as Shelley puts you in the system. Just hang on until she says you're on the air, and then give us a name, turn your radios down, and please keep it clean. Keep the language clean. No saltiness on air because we're live. And the FCC frowns on bad language.
Yeah, we want to stick around.
Yeah, we want to be here for a while. So, let's talk. And today...
Yes, what are we talking about today?
I have no idea. I read the thing completely wrong.
We're talking about citizenship. Why?
Why, Paul? Why?
Why, Paul? Why?
Why? Well, as usual, I read an article
Good job.
about... And this concerns me because I am a naturalized citizen of this country. I am not from your country. I'm from elsewhere. And I chose to become an American citizen, therefore I'm the only one in the room who can actually say, yes. I am proud to be an American because it was actually my choice. And my citizenship can now be apparently revoked if they find a mistake on my naturalization papers, documents. The Trump this has been going on for a while, but the Trump administration has actually formed a new office. They're hiring more lawyers and, an investigative team. They're going through records, finding people who have committed, who have lied or made mistakes, perhaps, on their immigration papers when they wanted to become American citizens. So now citizenship is one of those things that can be taken away from you, which I regard as a repressive act because, where does it lead? Are they going to target certain people? Oh, you bet they are.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think they look like you, Paul, I'm afraid.
I'm guessing not. I'm guessing they're not going to be
who are you talking about?
An old white guy.
Who are you talking about?
Well, it could be anyone, right? Anyone who's Muslims for a start.
Like
Central Americans for another.
My husband, who was born in Mexico, but he's lived here virtually all his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been talking to him and saying, so what's our plan in case suddenly you disappear on me? Where will I find you? So it's a little scary. It
is scary.
Fear of travel.
It certainly raises constitutional questions, I would say. There is a move. Trump himself has said he doesn't believe the 14th Amendment is correct. The 14th Amendment is the one that was created in 1868 after the Civil War, after the Dred Scott case in the Supreme Court that said that no blacks could be American citizens. No descendants of slaves or even people of African descent could be citizens of the United States. So they overturned that with the 14th Amendment, which guarantees all persons born or naturalized in the
Exactly.
United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and of the state wherein they reside. And that has been a bone of contention ever since it was written. Big discussion. It was interesting to actually read the discussion they had in Congress when that was going through. It's quite enlightening and not something that would be foreign to today's Congress, as they were talking about the Mongol race that's going to invade us, the Chinese in California.
So this is all part of the Make America Great Again is going way back.
I think
the Wayback Machine.
I think you'll find the playbook.
I think you have to...
What's going on?
Wrong here. Okay,
Oh, how does that sound?
Get closer
That's
in.
good.
I think you'll find the playbook for so many things that happen today that are, it's already happened word for word, really. And the yellow peril is one of those things that comes up.
What's that?
The yellow peril was this, the belief that they said the same thing about Asians. There was this big fear as the Chinese were coming in that they were going to overtake the world here. The United States, here's what they say, it became... Hold on.
Glasses. They talked about in the debates in Congress. They talked about the Mongol race, the invasion of the Mongol race.
Horace Greeley, we've already heard of him. The Chinese are uncivilized, unclean, and filthy beyond all conception, without any higher domestic or social relations.
Isn't that what they say about all immigrants they don't
and
like?
sensual in their dispositions.
That's why it's been around for so long.
Every female is a prostitute of the basest order.
They're all rapists and murderers. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it is again, and there are constitutional experts who say that birthright citizenship, this thing about if you're born here, you are a citizen, unless you're born to a foreign diplomat in foreign service, so thereby not under the jurisdiction of the United States, right? Because they have immunity, diplomatic immunity. Not subject to the laws. As such, they are, but they're not. They won't be thrown in jail. They'll just be sent back to their country, right? And at the time, Native Americans were not citizens because they had their own nations, and so they were not regarded as citizens. And they said, no, this isn't about Native Americans. But it is about the Chinese. And California at the time said, yeah, the Chinese are coming here. They're building our state. Of course we're going to let them stay and become citizens. Why wouldn't we? They work hard. They're great people. Look at the railroads they built.
Yeah.
And great food.
And great food. Yeah. So anyway, it's all happening again. There is at least one very outspoken constitutional lawyer who says the birthright citizenship is a sham, and that jurisdiction the word jurisdiction actually means you have to owe allegiance to the country that you are in, to the United States. And if you are an immigrant from elsewhere, from another country, you still owe allegiance to that country.
What
And
about
therefore,
dual citizenship? You have two passports. How does that work?
Well, there's the thing. So now, I don't think the U.S. recognizes dual citizenship.
Yeah, I know a couple right now who are pregnant and here from another country and wanting their baby to be born here. But I'm really confused about how that all would work out.
So there's one of the questions. Do we want pregnant mothers coming here just so that they can give birth to U.S. citizens? That's part of why these guys are against it, of course. That
What do you think about that?
There's this invasion.
What do you think about that?
Well, what do you think? I don't know. It's a valid question. I mean, do you? What do you do? You stop all pregnant women at the border?
It's sort of like it's like the Point Reyes National Seashore. Because, here's this treasured, beautiful, quiet, lovely, place to connect with nature. And then it became discovered, like America got discovered, right? And once it was discovered, now more and more people want to visit here. Why wouldn't they?
Of course.
Sort of like America. Why wouldn't they want to come to the land of the free and have a chance to make $1 million like Trump, and $1 billion or whatever.
Whatever he's got.
Whatever. We don't know. So it's really hard. Like here in Point Reyes, can we block the road and keep people out and limit how many people are allowed in? I don't see that we can do that.
I think it's a little different. Don't you think there's a loophole though that people are they're coming for no other reason than to have their child be an American citizen? Although I recognize the great value of that in today's world.
Well, does their child becoming a citizen by birth cause them to become citizens as well?
Not at all.
No.
And it's almost unique in the world, this birthright citizenship. I think Australia has it. But I think it's the Americas. Even Canada, I don't think does that.
It seems like, you should have the citizenship of your parents. Whether you're visiting here or not. So if you come to live here, that's different.
So you'd fall on the side of the loophole. This isn't really legitimate.
Yeah, there are two ways of getting citizenship around the world. One is jus soli, the right of the soil, denotes a regime by which nationality is acquired through birth on the territory of the state. That's, here we are, Australia and the Americas. I don't know what the Americas means. I'm not sure you'd be a Mexican citizen if you were born there, but maybe. And the other one is jus sanguinis, the right of blood, by which nationality is acquired through descent, usually from a parent who is a national. Almost all states in Europe, Asia, Africa, and Oceania grant citizenship at birth based upon that principle. Canada, if you are born to Canadian parents outside of Canada, it's okay for one generation, you'll still be a Canadian. But if you then give birth, if you marry a Canadian and then leave Canada and have a baby abroad, that baby will not be a Canadian citizen. They do a one-generation thing.
Wow.
So you have to come home to have your baby. And
Israel may be unique in that if you are Jewish, regardless of where you're born and where you've lived, you're entitled to Israeli citizenship.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
The right of return, if you come back, the right of return. If you're Jewish, you can come back and you have citizenship.
Unfortunately, the Palestinians do not share that right.
Palestinians don't.
415-663-8492. Give us a call. Won't you give us your thoughts about immigration, about citizenship? Should it be taken? Can it be taken away? Should it be taken away from people who've lied on their forms, who say they pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, but didn't really mean it?
If we've all, I'm sure, have experienced bureaucracy. On some level, going through college.
DMV.
Yes. They can make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And so that's very scary, to think that somebody could be kicked out of the country on some kind of a glitch,
Well, so here's the thing. If you take away citizenship, and it's the only citizenship they have, then they're stateless, and then no one wants them. That's which happened to Jews during the Holocaust, right? They would send off. They got on boats and came to the United States. The United States said, "We can't accept you. You're not from anywhere."
During the war,
you're nobody.
Them back. They turned back.
Gosh.
They're nobodies. So statelessness is another sort of human right crime.
Back to the Nazis.
That enables atrocities like that to happen. Could it happen here? No. Right?
Well, it is happening.
No. What?
Oh, my. Can we save that for another topic? Oh, so citizenship.
Well, this never ceases to amaze me. Just every day there's some new phenomenon that I sit back and say, oh, my God, what are they going to think of next? And, well, this is the next one. So... Are the I's dotted?
Michael Anton, a researcher and research fellow at Hillsdale College, former national security official in the Trump administration, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying that there is no constitutional authority for birthright citizenship, that it should not be allowed. They have same interpretation of jurisdiction, that it implies allegiance, and if you don't have allegiance, then you are not, the jurisdiction doesn't apply. Of course, there are other scholars who shoot that down and say jurisdiction means jurisdiction. It means you're subject to the laws of the country of the U.S. while you're here. There was a birthright citizenship was argued in the Supreme Court back in the later 1800s. A Chinese man wanted to become a citizen, and they allowed it because he was born to Chinese parents who came to California, I think, or the West Coast, and had a business. So they were settled, and they had a home there, and they gave birth to this guy. And he said, well, I want to be a citizen now. I am a citizen now. And the Supreme Court said yes. But of course, there are people now who want to do away with that, mostly of the conservative bent, let's say.
Well, it's interesting when you think of Korematsu and the internment of Japanese during the war, American citizens. So the shocking thing is, my God, they can do that to American citizens based on their origin, their race, or their parents or their grandparents, where they came from. I found, when I read Korematsu versus the United States, it was like scales dropping from my eyes. I was just so shocked by it.
Mm-hmm. How can they say these things out loud?
I had another thought, and that is that if maybe we should deprive citizenship from anyone who can't answer the same questions that are asked for guys like you that are becoming. Don't you have tests and don't you have answers? And
yeah.
I think that many Americans can't answer those very same questions.
You bet they can't.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they cannot.
How many amendments
are there?
I'm
not sure I could.
Well,
I'd like to see it.
Well, let's ask the test on the street. Hey, sorry, out.
Exactly. Well, certainly that was the refrain I heard while I was going through the process, is that, you know more than most Americans do about the Constitution now, about the history of the U.S. Mm-hmm. I've forgotten it all now, but...
like a true American.
So that gives you something to be to show your allegiance to, where the rest of us take our citizen without really... Well, no, they ask us to pledge allegiance to
every day.
Indoctrination.
That's right.
Ooh.
After the internment camps for the Japanese, what happened to the people? Did they just go back and be citizens again?
Well, they were citizens. They were always citizens. What they did was they interred American citizens.
Right. But then after they were uninterred...
Well, a lot of there were a lot of things that were happening to them. For one thing, they just couldn't go back to their farms or their businesses. A lot of these had, disappeared. They were taken over by other people, and they weren't welcome. Okay, they weren't welcome coming back. Mm-hmm. And it was just like back to World War II. You had people going back to their villages in Poland, and they were killed. Mm-hmm. No, you can't come back here.
Right. We just got rid of you. I got back.
How'd you make it
when
out?
when I was living in Hawaii, there was an empty lot across the road that was owned by a neighbor who was a member of the Dillingham family, one of the big wealthy families there. And he had acquired that land when the Japanese family that used to farm it were sent off to internment camps. And he just took it. He just took it over and said, it's mine now. And they came back and he said, no, I got a deed. Show me your deed. They didn't have it was a truck farm up there. They were growing vegetables for
business,
terrible.
Your business just fell apart. You're off. I guess they came back, with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now and then they started making those little automobiles.
Oh.
Anyway, so yes,
That
it's a
was just
terrible.
a joke,
It's a tragic history. This whole birthright thing. So, and the citizenship, the 14th Amendment, of course, was written for, as I said, after Dred Scott and after the Civil War, and it was, instead of just being on a state level, it was actually enshrined into federal law that anyone born here was a citizen, including slaves and descendants of slaves, which in the South, of course, still didn't make any difference. There was still organized segregation and everything. But it's a really important amendment because it also lays out the rights of citizens. So things like Roe v. Wade and what was that, Brown versus Board of Education. A lot of these landmark cases down through Supreme Court history since then have been based on this amendment. So it's one that conservatives really tend to hate.
And
they would love to do away with it.
They'd love to have a constitutional convention, but boy, is that going to open a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, so now here's...
of course, the 14th gives you the right of due process, too, by the way.
Michael Anton, right of due process, exactly, yeah, right. Michael Anton, this former national security official from the Trump administration who wrote the op-ed saying that birthright citizenship should be abolished, he also posited that it could be done by executive order. It could be stopped by executive order. He's said that Trump could just sign it into law that birthright citizenship stops.
I don't think so.
Because illegal immigrants, right? I mean, that's what the whole thing is about, is people without papers, without going through the proper process, are crossing the border and having children here, and it's a invasion.
Oh, yeah, but what about all the taxes they pay and, businesses they build? And
that's a different story. You're talking
the ways
about,
they contribute.
About illegal immigrants, etc. But these are people who come here pregnant, have their baby, return home, and now their child is an American citizen based on that trip across the border to give birth. So,
What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Personally, I think it's taking advantage of a loophole, if you ask me. And it doesn't, on the face of it, doesn't strike me as great. I think it's really taking advantage.
Okay.
Asking me. How about you?
Give us a call, won't you? 663-415-663-8492.
MK, how do you feel about it?
Well, I was doing my homework a little bit about citizenship, and it started way back in Roman times. I think the first concept of citizenship. In order to be a citizen, you had to do something for the country that you were a citizen of. It wasn't just like a blanket thing. It's like, okay, you're a citizen, you can go do whatever you want. You had to give back. You had to have some sort of representation of what your value as. You had to be a value, and that certainly has gone by the boards. So.
Yeah,
so what does citizenship mean? Yeah, exactly.
It's like a hideout. It's like or an easy out. You can. I'm a citizen, therefore, I can do whatever I want.
And not pay back. In fact, cheat on your taxes as much as you can, and try not to pay taxes if possible.
There's another phenomenon that I came up with. On the one hand, back in the 1880s, you had this yellow peril, and today you have what they call the model minority, whereas Asians have come full circle, and now they're used as they are defined in ways that makes them a model of success,
citizens,
of values,
family values, conservative families originally,
exactly.
hardworking,
which itself
all
is
the
a form
other
of
cliches.
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between racism and stereotyping?
Racist stereotypes. That's it.
Semantics.
Yeah.
I had another thought, and don't ask me to to get too deep into it, but I was wondering if the African Americans are perpetual immigrants. They're one of the only. They're a society that's always subject to authority. It's impossible for them to stand up to authority. Where if you're white, middle class, you have a greater opportunity to stand up. I don't know. Just think about it. Is there any correlation to that? It just sort of came to me that when we're talking about immigration,
well,
there's a really completely different.
They're more like kidnap victims.
Elucidate.
Well, they didn't choose to come here.
Yeah, they're forebears. Yeah, right.
Right.
Well,
Sure.
I didn't choose to come here.
I did.
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
And you're so proud of it, too.
Well, and I'm proud to be an American. And that was the basis of the amendment, of course. It was all about slavery and the treatment of those of African descent.
Yeah, is there anything about the Native Americans, the people who were here before white America took over?
They were not regarded as citizens until 1924 or something like that, because they had their own laws, their own territories that were sacrosanct. We would never take over their territories or run oil pipelines through them or anything like that. No, they had their own laws, and so it was kind of a convenient way not to have them be part of the citizenry, and they were untaxed. That's what they kept saying in the debate over the 14th Amendment. Untaxed Native Americans, untaxed Indians is what they said. Yeah. So, but that really was what it was all about, and it was because it was actually the Republicans who were on the side of the 14th Amendment up in the Northeast against the Democratic South, slave-owning states, who had been, because there was so much, the earlier governments wanted Virginia and all the slave states to be part of the Union, so they allowed them the 3/5 rule, wherein every slave counted as 3/5 of a person, even though they couldn't vote or have any rights at all. That counted towards your congressional representation as the population, even though they had no part in society other than making everything work. When this 14th Amendment came in, of course, they all became citizens, and they all became 5 out of 5. They became 100% people regarded. So the southern states suddenly got a lot more representation.
Oh boy!
But it also gave freed slaves in the north. It gave all of them the vote as well as citizenship and the vote. So,
so do we have the vote? I want to know the way they've gerrymandered.
The South.
We may not have votes.
If you're from
anymore.
the South and you love the South and the history of it, as I know some of my good friends do. 415-663-8492. But first,
this is KWMR, Point Reyes Station, Bolinas and San Geronimo Valley. KWMR is supported by our Calendar Club members and by Bear Valley Cottage in Olema. Information on this self-catering college available at bearvalleycottage.com.
I was going to say,
that's bearvalleycottage.com. We are also supported by Hog Island Oyster Company, a California benefit corporation farming oysters on Tomales Bay since 1983 and cultivating a bay-to-bar experience in Marshall, San Francisco, and Napa. Welcoming Tony's Seafood Restaurant in Marshall as their newest bay-to-bar restaurant. Information online at hogislandoysters.com and tonysseafoodrestaurant.com. Support for KWMR is provided by our listener members and by West Marin Community Services, providing programs to support the community, including a food pantry and an event rental library, emergency financial assistance, the Water Dogs swimming program, a community Thanksgiving gathering, holiday food and gifts, tax prep day, Latino engagement programs, and more. Information at 415-663-8361 or online at westmarin.communityservices.org. And you're listening to Let's Talk Call-In Radio, and we have a caller. Caller, you're on the line. Please tell us your name.
Oh, it's Nikita, and I just want to make a comment. I think it's hilarious that Paul, you and Dieter Tremp, you're the people that are telling us about all the rules in the country that we grew up in and were born in. And it just cracks me up.
Okay.
I mean, you're the one that's been telling everybody what's going on here.
Yeah, well, I just have a big mouth.
To be the outsider, no. You did all the research. And Dieter Tremp is another guy born in Germany, and he came here later in life, and he did all the research. And when I draw with him, whenever there's a question about citizenship or, history, government, he knows the answer. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's great to know the answer.
Well, history, the history is not really taught very much, is it, anymore?
No, but somehow you are the guys that are more interested than we are.
Oh, well.
That's the part that I find.
Well, maybe it's...
I'm alone here.
Maybe it's because I made the choice to be here and I'm slightly worried about the direction everything's going in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not worried at all.
Well, yeah, and the way history, is being taught to our kids is not exactly accurate, and that's a whole topic unto itself, I think.
Mm.
Well, you go ahead and explore. It's fun to listen to that.
Thank you, Vikisa.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
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 I think everybody should mind their own business, frankly.
Everybody. Just everyone leave Stephen alone.
Could you expand on that a little?
They could just figure out what their business is. They could mind it.
No, I don't know. I think it's fascinating. Just being in this country and knowing a little bit. I mean, I was forced to learn the history of America, of the United States, when I wanted to go for citizenship before it was too late to get it, which may be the case now.
When I was a little girl,
yeah,
I thought America was great. I was proud that we were a place that people could come to find safety and a better life. I was proud that we were able to fight for our civil rights and gain them.
Mm-hmm.
And the way things are now is very disturbing and scary. The way all these rights are getting chipped away at.
Mm-hmm.
And
the slow dismantling of things
yeah.
that have been put in place for 200 years or so. And yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, the Catholic churches are full for the first time in generations, and the Hispanics are Catholics. And from what I've read, they're bringing a lot of very conservative values with them.
Sure.
And so I don't think that, I think the Republicans are being a bit nearsighted.
Oh, well, because they have support amongst the Latino community, no doubt. There must be some.
Well, particularly the religious community.
Yeah. But, so I was, and it's slightly worrying to me. As I said, I was forced to do history of the USA. But it's fascinating how it's ebbed and flowed. But this one really, really does bother me, the being able to take someone's citizenship away.
That is
Yeah.
shocking.
I mean, that's when you cause statelessness, a stateless individual. So, I mean, the Palestinians are an example. There is no state of Palestine, therefore they are stateless.
So what, is there an island somewhere for these people to go? I mean, where do they go? They float around on boats till they die?
Actually, there are cases. There was one case of a man who lived in an airport for 11 years. He actually lived there.
Oh, my gosh.
Because they couldn't figure out what to do with him. No one would accept him because he was stateless. They wouldn't let him in any other country. I think finally maybe Canada or somebody else said, okay.
That's bananas. We do have a caller.
Let me just say, Palestinians,
Caller, hold
on. Most recent Rohingya people in Myanmar, right? They were declared stateless, and they started wiping them out. Because, if you're stateless, then you're not of a country, and you're not really
You're like ants.
In humanity. You're just you're a nobody. And there are 4 million Muslim Bengalis in India that the Hindu nationalists, there too, wants to rid the country of. And they're stateless. Bangladesh doesn't want them back. They fled Bangladesh.
Oh, my gosh.
And went to India, and now there's 4 million of them just stateless persons. Yeah, I know.
Oh, dear. Caller, you are on the air. Please tell us your name and what's your language.
My name's David.
Hey.
And this is one of your better programs, although scarier, but a little nittier, grittier. What I called in to say is that when I grew up, when all of you grew up, we had there was a certain kind of background noise. When I grew up, the first president I was aware of was Truman and then Eisenhower, and this was normal. And there are kids now who are growing up with what's going on now as normal. They accept that we have this president who says what we old people think is outrageous, and he's the president, so he says them. So therefore, they have a certain amount of
there's empowerment
validity, yeah. There's empowerment, and he's accepted because he's the president, just like everybody who had a President Kennedy, or the first president they were aware of was whoever it was. That's the norm.
Hey, David, don't you think that these high school kids, though, are showing a lot of gumption, and they've had enough mass murders in their schools, and all of a sudden they're taking it out to the public? I'm just impressed by what's going on with these kids today. These are not kids that grew long hair like me, wore bell bottoms.
At least they have some hair. Never mind. Sorry.
No, what do you think about that? Yeah.
Well, I think that sure. I'm impressed with the ones who are standing out and standing up and making noise. I think that's great. And there are also a lot of them who are standing up holding MAGA signs and Trump he's my president signs. I don't know where the numbers are, but I wouldn't be, I don't want to be snowed into thinking that, the guys, the ones who stand up after several of their compadres have been killed, shot in school. There are certainly some of them, and there are also plenty who don't say anything, and don't stand up.
Sure.
And,
But I hear what you're saying, though. It's what they're experiencing now. If they don't question it, if they don't examine it, they're going to just accept it as the status quo.
Yeah.
And they don't know any better, and it's not really their fault. So I think it's important.
Thank you.
It's important that we talk about it out loud, that we sing about it, we draw pictures about it, theater about it.
All of that.
Everything, so that we can keep telling the story of a better world, and focusing on the kind of world we actually want.
Sure.
Because we're kind of thrown into this position of having to be up against something, resist it.
I'm going to sign off now, but keep talking.
David, nice to hear from you.
Thanks for calling.
I just hate to hear this "they" word over and over, though.
They.
I've just never liked it.
It's us.
here we are, really amongst a very privileged group,
Sure.
and we're talking about they and them and these Trump, as if we really know what the Trump supporter is in effect. I see very few young people, by the way, at the Trump rallies. I look there and I don't see a lot. Mostly they're middle-aged women and men, and a lot of women, and they're a lot of head bobbling.
Have you heard about the QAnon followers?
Just reading about that.
Explain that.
What is QAnon?
So there's somebody who goes by the name of Q. No one knows who Q is. Q could be coming from anywhere, frankly, anywhere on the globe. But Q makes statements online at an online forum. And I don't have a lot of details. I get the impression that the statements are a little ambiguous or obscure, but the followers get into a discussion and try to make sense out of what is Q telling us.
Mostly to do with conspiracy, with the vast dark state, all that sort of stuff. The Clintons and the
and the posts are on the dark web.
It's anti-Semitic. It's the same old stuff. It's just more hip now. And there's a lot of if you look at rallies now, I say rallies, it's supposed to be Trump, the president, holding a forum or something. Of course, they're rallies. You see people wearing T-shirts with a big Q on the front. That's the guys. These are the big-time conspiracy theorists on 8chan or whatever it is. Infinity Chan, I think it's called.
All the Democrats are trafficking.
Oh, yeah. They're all pedophile traffickers.
Yeah.
Like Hillary Clinton at the pizza parlor,
I want to take this thought about the high school kids one step further. Just reminded me that you don't really need a lot of people behind an idea. Today, all you have to do is catch the imagination of the media. You could have 10 kids standing up for this, but if the media picks it up, it becomes a big story as to
for
what's
5
happening.
minutes.
As long as that's where Trump has been brilliant. He has sucked all the air out of the room, and he has continually handed out something that keeps the media and the world's attention. Not that what he's doing is good, but he just knows how to play that and keep that. I mean, the primary, they gave him $1 billion worth of free promotion because he just kept that media focus on him. He kept coming out with something new, something outrageous, something to feed, some story to feed the media.
Yes, he's very skilled at that.
Yeah.
So we need to look at that, what he's doing, and spin it ourselves. So, for every statement that he might make that we know is untrue, we need to counter that with a statement of truth. And keep saying it as much as he's saying the other.
It doesn't resonate, though. Falsehood resonates way more than truth. I mean, they've got truth detectors left and right about
throwing
Trump.
the hands in the air. Okay.
I'm just saying.
So I read an article, I'm not sure I agree with it, but it posited that conservatives are more broad brush, broad stroke, whip up the crowd kind of statements, whereas progressives tend to be more fact-based, more, logical. It's like left brain, right brain, I guess. I'm not sure that's true, but it's certainly working. I mean, Trump's the only thing he really wants is to be in the press every day, right? I mean, that's all he wants: media exposure every day.
But bring something up.
He's very good at that. You just say anything, and then you're in the news.
But does he have to destroy the planet and all the people on
Whatever
it in the
takes,
process?
as long as he's getting
But Paul,
ratings.
what you were talking about, though, it seems to me, is that what's missing with the Democrats is a charismatic person. I think if Kennedy was charismatic. He caught the imagination of a nation. even Bobby Kennedy might have been even more so. We're just missing that today. Trump is the charismatic to the particular group that he resonates with, and it seems pretty dull on the other side.
It does, yeah. I know. We're the party poopers. We're always saying, "Nah, he's wrong. That's not true." No one wants to be told that what they believe is a lie, especially when they're being given great scapegoats to shout about. And this is, which is why, back to the subject, citizenship. The stripping of citizenship is such an alarming thing to me that you could choose. They could choose anyone of Colombian descent, let's say, or Mexican, whatever, and investigate all their files, or not investigate, just strip them of citizenship.
Well, do you
especially the ones who were born here of illegal aliens. Right?
Do you think it might be a perception that this category vote Democratic? They don't vote Republican, so let's see how many people we can take out of the voting rolls. No?
Right.
See, I'm not sure that's... I think that's true of the African-American population.
Well, there's been a concerted effort to make it harder to vote.
Right, yeah. But I think it's more just they're destroying our country, that thing. It's not about... With the Central Americans and immigration flooding over the southern border, even though it's less than it has been for a long time. You're being given a threat, you're being given a target, and I think it wouldn't take much for people to say, okay, let's take citizenship away.
So, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you've given some thought to this. What if?
If they come from me?
Right.
Well,
I'll hide you. I'll hide you in my basement. Under that, I don't have a basement, but under the house, under the, we'll feed you secretly.
Yeah. Yes, I've thought about it. In fact, I think about leaving this country.
Where would you go?
A little more than I used to.
I don't see the point in it. It's not. You can leave it. But
I wasn't born here, so I love this. I love where we are. I love living where I live, but really.
I mean, somebody says, I'm going to Canada. So what? The United States, is all the crap that's coming from the United States isn't happening anymore now because you're living across the border in Canada?
Oh, no, of course not. No.
Well, and there's the fact that the United States has their hand all over the planet,
Of course, yeah. It's very trying, actually, to be here and to be an American citizen. And that's why I became an American citizen. So, first of all, I could vote for Obama, and that was a great thing at the time, and but just so I could actually spout off about America and be a part of it instead of being a visitor who in the past had overstayed his visa and was therefore an illegal alien. If I'd had a child, would it have been an American citizen? Should it be? If people are overstaying their visas?
Did you see how Paul Ryan went on Henry Louis Gates' show, and turns out that Paul Ryan has Jewish ancestry?
And
good Irish boy.
And he was all happy, and he was all excited and happy.
Good.
Crazy.
Well, that's good. It's
I
nice.
do too.
It's nice that there is part of Trump's family is Jewish. I think that's probably a good thing.
I did my genetics, and I found out that I'm 98.8 Ashkenazi Jew. So, and they told me where I came from and showed me. So, these women along the line were very true to their men.
Well,
yeah, the genes, man. They're
those immigrants, those Jewish immigrants.
That's the problem.
Terrible everywhere they were. Never assimilated. Damn them. That's what they say about every immigrant culture. What you were reading earlier, they're dirty, they're filthy, they have no...
What about the Irish? Didn't they
true of everyone,
about
right?
the Irish?
Exactly. No, that's what they used to say about the Irish and the Italians and the Poles and the, not the Germans, because the Germans were here first. So
and the Swedes.
The English.
Where I lived, the immigration was Poles, Germans. That was predominant. The Swedes never came that far south. But we used to strong Polish identity and strong German, particularly by their food, which is every culture. But those, those dogs, that sausage,
the dogs,
sauerkraut,
the sausage. I don't know. I'm a sausage fan. I'm from England. Gotta love a bit of sausage, don't you? Anyway, so I don't know. It worries me. Maybe it doesn't worry anybody else.
What about travel?
This citizenship thing.
Like, do you think about it? Do you ever consider traveling out of the country, for example?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No,
you're not afraid that that's where you might lose your citizenship?
Years ago, no. I mean, it was always troubling to come through as a registered alien with a green card that I had for years. Mm-hmm. Always a worry coming to immigration station at the airport because,
Mm-hmm. With a green card, you mean?
With a green card.
Yeah.
They could say, this green card. In fact, they did say, and that was another impetus for it, this doesn't have an expiration date on it. I had one that was in in that window of about 2 years that didn't have an expiration. So I had a green card forever. And then they just suddenly decided, no, you have to get a new one. So I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to start doing that, I'll be a citizen as well. So I did.
So it was for convenience.
What was it like?
It was convenient, sure, and so I could stay here without having to renew anything and to be able to vote. So you became
a citizen for all the wrong reasons?
No, for all the right reasons, so that I could stay here and contribute to the community.
Oh. I was going to bring this to someone's attention.
Well, I'm curious. What exactly goes into becoming a citizen coming from another country? Where do you go? What do you have to do?
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that all the places that you had to go to be interviewed, fingerprinted, background check, FBI check, all that. Every time you went to a building to do that, government building or government contractors, but official buildings, even in downtown San Francisco, there is nothing on the outside of the building to say that it is a government building. Not even the Department of what it was then, Naturalization and Immigration Naturalization. Nothing on the outside of its headquarters in San Francisco.
Huh. Are you suggesting that you go in and you might not come back out?
No, what I'm suggesting is, what dawned on me was that the only people who know where these government offices are immigrants. That these government, the bureaucracy does not trust Americans knowing where the government buildings are.
I think we have a caller.
Oh, we have a caller. Hi.
Let's see. Caller, are you on the line?
Hello.
Please tell us your name.
This is George.
George.
And I'm quite fond of this show. This is a great show, you guys.
There you go.
I was wondering if you might care to end off on a more positive note about the education possibilities for our young, getting them fired up about, the possibilities as an American. The possibilities of what we could achieve if we wanted to, as far as our world, the qualities of it,
Yeah, what do you think that would be?
Oh, well, I mean, you can just read a laundry list of things, as far as education possibilities for their young, the quality of life, as far as health care. When you're young, you're not as concerned about health care,
So how are you imagining this education getting passed on?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I would love to hear you guys end off the show by expounding on that, to see if maybe with your erudite ways you might reach some solutions before noon.
Well, children's books. Let's all start writing some children's books.
Yeah, I really think that history education is very important. It may be
overhauling the history education.
I kind of hated it when I was in England, and I had to learn history every 3 times a week.
What made you curious, Paul?
But what's that?
What made you curious about history? See, that's the thing is somehow we have to teach curiosity.
Well, the great thing about the history of this country is that it's so short. I mean, there you have to learn dates and names of kings going back to, Roman times, which is just blah, and who married whom and what family are they all from. But here, you're looking at, 240 years of history.
So I think it's time that we revise the history that we're teaching our kids.
It's easy to put it all
though.
together, especially constitutional history. I think that's fascinating stuff. But, so history in the schools, that would be my...
Yeah. Fourth graders have to learn about the missions, but what does that really mean? That's what they don't really get to learn about.
Right.
And the whole thing with
practical application.
The pilgrims and
That's the bottom line, I think.
Oh, for it to be interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
That there has to be a practical application for any kind of education that's going to stick with everybody.
Oh, agreed. Some tactile way that it makes sense.
Right. And that can be missing from some teachers' presentations. They're teaching you all this facts, but they're not helping you get to that point of really understanding how this impacts you, your current life, and your future life.
Because we're me-centric, and that's the most important thing, is just somehow getting that across so that it matters in your life.
Yeah. It's all about me in the now. That's what we're all about. So we have to wrap this up.
One last thing is that...
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
History is the people who survive. Everybody writes their own history, and so when you say study history, I'm going to say this just before we end. Whose history?
USA.
But there might be 5 ways to do that.
Of course.
So whoever writes the history books...
This could be another show. We want to thank all our listeners and callers today. Thanks for listening and calling in. Your contributions are always welcome. KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members. Thank you, MK, for being here. Fabulous. Thank you, Stephen. Good to have you back.
It's my
and
pleasure.
Shelley, well done on the board.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
And I'm Paul. Bye for now.